When I began going to the gym, I was overwhelmed by all those different exercises. I didn't know, will this exercise waste my time or will this exercise make me see all the progress? So in this video, I'll rank the most common chest exercises to help you if you are in the same position as I once was. Just to make it a little bit clearer, the exercise you are choosing correspond very much with your goal. And my goal is to be strong, athletic, aesthetic, and functional. I'm not a bodybuilder, I'm not a powerlifter, and if these goals correspond with yours, you'll find value in this video. The first exercise we're going to talk about today is the upper body squat, the dip. The dip is highly functional. You're building real strength. If you can do dips, you can move your own body weight, and that is really important for me. Then it's fairly easy to overload the dip. At first you can do it with reps, and then later on you can buy a weighted belt where you can put on weight and then you can overload really easy. It builds the whole chest, front delts and triceps really well. And basically every single gym has a dip bar, which also is very important. The only con I see with a dip is that the technique can be a little confusing. And at most, skip to learn the proper form and skip a warm-up. They don't warm up the shoulders, the elbows and the wrist, and then they injure yourselves. So straight into S tier. Then we're one of my favorites, the incline bench press. It's basically like the flat barbell bench press, but you change the angle on the bench press. And the bar gives you a little bit more stability than if you would do it with dumbbells. Because of the bar, it's really easy to overload and you can really precisely change the weight to 1 kilogram, 1 kilogram less, 1 kilogram more. You can decide yourself. The rack makes it a lot easier to start lifting, to begin the lift, than it would be with dumbbells, for example. What I really like with the incline bench press is that it both builds strength, real strength, and aesthetics. Because of the angled bench, you get a little bit more focused on the upper chest, which is seen more aesthetic. And another pro from the incline bench press is that because of the angle on the bench, it's a lot easier on the shoulders, less pressure on the shoulders, meaning it's not as high injury risk. And because of all these pros and so few cons, the incline bench press is getting straight into S tier. It's one of my favorite exercises. The only con I see with bench press and incline bench press is that you need to have a good rack. If you have a bad rack and a bad bench, for example, it's a really skinny bench, it's really hard, you can't really adjust the height on the rack, it worsens the exercise by a lot. And that's where the incline dumbbell press comes into the game. It's basically the same as the incline bench press, but you don't have a bar and you don't have a rack. You use dumbbells, which give you a little more freedom. You can angle your shoulders how you want, you can angle in, out, and you can even have more range of motion if you want to go deeper. But because, especially when you're going heavy later on, it can be quite hard to get those big weights up into the pressing position. And what I really like about incline dumbbell press is that every single gym has a freaking bench. Every gym has a bench and has dumbbells. So no matter if you're traveling or wherever you are in your country, the gym has a bench and dumbbells. One of the few cons of the incline dumbbell press is that you can't really adjust the weight as precise. You're fixed by how a jump is, usually 2 kilograms between the dumbbells. But with that being said, I still believe it's one of the best chest exercises out there, so it's coming along to S tier as well. So now we are at the classics, the flat bench press. The flat bench press is a phenomenal chest exercise. But I would say because of you now have a flat bench, you get a little more strength gains, but you lose a little bit of aesthetics. Like I said, the bar gives you a little more stability and you can really change the weight precise for exactly how you want it. Another good thing is every single gym basically has a bench press. But like I said, that doesn't mean it's always the best rack and bench, which can just, like I said, worsen exercise by quite a lot if you have a really stiff and bad bench or a really bad rack in general. But the best with the bench press is that you can flex with your bench PR. If you can bench 100 kilograms, 120, you can flex with that. If you don't bench press, you can't flex with it. So that's just, you gotta keep that in mind. This one, the bench press, is going into A tier because it's lacking a little bit of aesthetics, but it's really good at building strength. The little brother of the bench press is, of course, the flat dumbbell press. Also very similar, but without a rack, without a bar, and with dumbbells instead. And this one's also coming straight into A tier. It basically has the same pros and cons as the incline dumbbell press that you're laying flat on a bench, which, like I said, gives you a little bit more strength, I would say, but a little less aesthetics. And then we have the flies, more specifically the dumbbell fly and the dumbbell incline fly. And I have both of these exercises in one category because I believe they're very similar. They're basically the same, and many people really enjoy them. I not so much, actually. I don't see a lot of progress when doing them, actually. I see them more as a warm-up or a pump exercise. It's not a real compound exercise where you really feel like you're seeing a lot of progress. You see the weight go up and up and up. But what I like is that it's very simple. It's a very easy form, and it still trains like the whole chest. If you have incline, a little more upper chest, and front delt, just a tiny little bit. If you're laying flat on a bench, I feel like you can really feel this stretch a lot more and get a little bit more range of motion. So the dumbbell fly, I'm going to put into B tier. And then we can't forget the good old push-up. Because when I began, a lot of people, they swore by the push-up. It's the best exercise ever. The pro is that you can really do it freaking anywhere. And it's building real strength. Strength correlated to your body weight. The form is also quite easy, but the big con is it's really hard to overload. Because after a while, you can do a lot of push-ups. And when you have done like 100, 200 push-ups, that's enough. You can't spend 1 hour of just doing push-ups. You can buy weighted vests that will make it a little harder for you. You can buy some weights, you can put on a bag, but there's also a limit to how much weight you can have on your back or how fat these weighted vests will become. That's why I'm only putting it in B tier. At the start, it's really great to build some base and foundational strength, but then later, if you want to progress more and more, it's really hard to do that. Also, a very popular machine I see a lot of beginners use is the machine chest press. They have a fixed path, which can be good if you're maybe injury, you're new to the gym, but the fixed path also means that you're not using that many muscle groups to stabilize. You don't have that much range of motion and freedom to really adjust what you're doing. But therefore, it's also usually very easy to overload. You have maybe a less injury risk because of this fixed path. It's usually very easy to learn the form, and a lot of gyms have these machines. But still, I would not choose any type of chest machine actually over the compound movements that are in S and A tier. When using machine chest press, I would say you get less strength, less functionality, but maybe a little more aesthetics maybe, because you can really focus on a muscle, you can really focus on a contraction and don't think about all the other things. But there's one thing I've learned is that when you use machines, for example, using the chest press machine, you think they're equal to the bench press. So you do the chest press machine and you can do some good weight on there, you're close to the max stack, but then you do normal bench press and you can't really do normal bench press. You're doing a really low weight compared to what you're doing on a machine. But if you're doing normal bench press or incline bench press and you then go to a machine, you can also do a lot of weight. You see, that's why I'm saying it's not really real strength, because your body's getting used to the machine and then you can do a lot of weight on the machine, but when you go into the real world, you can't do a lot of weight there. That's why I'm also putting the chest press machine in C tier. The last tip I have for you is that learn from my experiences and now make your own. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions or own experiences or own chest exercises you think I missed or you want to recommend to other people, write them down in the comment section and see you around.